No Robert De Niro responses.
I'm going to choose the monkeys just because I feel like I would have way more fun going to the zoo.
It actually takes great strength to defend what's fragile about you.
No, I think the government should pay for its people's basic needs because if you have people that are in good standing...
Yeah, but people are abusing the system. They're taking advantage of it. That's the problem.
If you ever look at the map of Antarctica, it's like a pie. I'm Zach Wiggin.
I'm Mark Petkov.
And you have just listened to a taste of Audio Pong.
And you're missing out.
From video games in the universe.
From philosophy and music.
We cover a lot of different topics with our unique points of view.
Kick back and listen in every Sunday at 9 a.m. or really whenever you like.
On Red Circle, Spotify, or your favorite podcast service.
Who knows what we'll talk about next? And as always,
have a metal life.
The goal here at How They Did It and Why podcast is to learn from the experiences of others. If you're an entrepreneur on the path of self-discovery and inspired by the significant achievements of others, you might find How They Did It and Why podcast to be a good fit. Topics revolve around society, culture, product reviews, science and tech, history, money matters, health and fitness, entertainment, and occasionally a movie review. And even a couple more random facts just for fun, all delivered in a casual, tell-it-like-it-is manner. Delivering solo episodes, conversations, and interviews. Head over to How They Did It and Why podcast right now and click subscribe. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other podcast center you can think of. How They Did It and Why podcast.
Hey, I'm your host, Wes.
And I'm your host, Scott.
Come on in and grab a seat.
Because you're hanging with us at the Barbershop. This is a throwdown, a showdown. Hell no, I can't slow down. It's gonna go down.
Oh, on the mix.
It is the battle of the IPAs. Hey, Wes.
Hey, Scotty.
How's it going, man?
I'm good. Did you just pull that out of your ass?
No, I had it up on Google, but I felt it was appropriate. So, another episode of Hanging at the Barbershop.
Yep.
Oh, that's what I didn't do. I didn't get my palate cleanser.
I actually didn't put anything in it. It's empty.
Oh, okay.
Should I have put water in that?
Well, if we're being more professional this time on the next episode of Cold Ones.
Our tasting etiquette has not improved.
So, fun night to be here. We've decided to have another session of Cold Ones. So there is 4 delicious beers in front of you tonight.
4 new ones. And oh my God, is it ever aromatic in here right now?
It is. It's very citrusy. So we chose to have a theme, and we've gone with IPAs tonight. So we've got Flying Monkey, Nickelbrook, Mill Street, and Fenland Falls Brewing Company are providing us with their version of IPA.
Woo woo for the homebrew company.
Yes, you will be tagged.
So, typically speaking, I would say I'm not an IPA person. That doesn't mean that I don't like and appreciate them for what they are, because outside of this, we've indulged in several flavors over the last couple of years, and I do like to try new flavors. So I'm pretty excited about dipping into these tonight.
For sure. As I say, I've definitely enjoyed them over the years more and more and more. So yeah, it's kind of cool that they've got different things, and they're starting to like diversify a lot of what's going on about it, right? So for anyone that doesn't know, an IPA is an Indian Pale Ale. It's a hoppy beer style with a broader category of pale ale. The style of pale ale, which became known as Indian Pale Ale, was widespread in England in 1815 and would grow popular, notably as an export beer shipped to India and elsewhere. So basically, when they were shipping it, from my understanding of the brewing process, hops are preservative.
Yes, this is pre-carbonation. That's how they shipped it across the pond.
So they just stuck more hops into it. It tended to make it a higher alcohol content.
Survive the trip.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Exactly. So thus the Indian Pale Ale.
I suppose it lends itself to that story from, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, the bottle of Keats that they pulled out of the Halifax Harbor.
Yes.
And apparently they opened it and drank it. So
somebody did they? I knew they'd done it.
Yeah.
I hadn't. That would always be my thought. I've told this story about my dad and my uncle, and they're portaging through Algonquin Park, and they're sort of at one of the inlets with a dock.
Right.
And they can see what looks like to be bottles at the bottom of the lake.
Okay.
And they're like, well, it can't be that deep. It's, so one of the brave souls stripped down to their skivvies, jumped in, and I think it was still maybe April. So it was still pretty cold.
That's cold.
Yeah, especially in Algonquin, right?
Yeah.
And went down there, and somebody had obviously dropped a couple of their beers while they were loading the canoe or whatever. And my Uncle Bob comes up, and he's a hero until they crack it open.
And?
Skunky.
Yeah.
So it did not, even right with the cold, I would have thought that would have been a great story of a good tasting beer.
Maybe.
But apparently it was not.
Yeah, you know what? These people that say, you can't leave it in the bottle too long or it'll go skunky. And I was really whatever. Like, how long do you got to leave a beer for it to go skunky? And then we cleaned out my mom's apartment and we brought that beer over, and you and I cracked into those. What were they?
They were Coors Light.
Coors Light.
Yeah. Not all of them are good.
No, something was off. And I'm like, oh, so that's what it's like. I don't know how long she'd had them at her place. I just know that that's the current labeling, so I figured they must be within a year or so.
Oh, right, the mountains turn blue, right?
Yeah.
They have the cold sensitive labeling.
Right, so...
but I mean, it all depends on how you store them, right? Are you storing them in a closet? Have they been in the fridge since the day you bought them?
Does it matter if they are frozen, thawed, and then frozen again, and then... Do you know what I mean? Like that hot cold?
I would think that there has to be, because I mean, right, we live in Canada, and they're shipping this beer in non-heated trailers.
Right.
If it's a cold enough day, it's got to freeze to some point, right? So I imagine that they've somehow done the formula where it has a couple freeze thaw built into it.
Yeah.
That doesn't ruin it.
See, this is why I keep bugging guys like Keith. Our friend Keith is a brewmaster. He would be perfect to be here right now because he could answer that question.
Right.
Keith, when you listen to this, I'm telling you, man, kick your ass, get in here. We need you.
Yeah. Just to either prove us wrong or to show how smart we really are.
Or tell us what we're doing wrong.
So also this week, I guess it's almost falling into another week, but
sure.
This was officially the week of back to meat.
Oh my God! I returned to being a meatosaurus.
Yeah. What'd you do on Monday?
Would it sound ironic if I told you my last meal pre-vegetarian was ribs, and my first meal post-vegetarian was ribs?
I thought that was kind of funny. I kind of put that together. I was like, did he just finish and start with the same thing?
Yes, but different preparations, different restaurants.
Right. So Montana's
for my first one back, and it was lovely. Texas bold sauce. It's a nice barbecue sauce, not too spicy. But instead of doing it with the potato, I did it with salad and opted for the beans. And then, of course, the piece of cornbread, doesn't help because that's just that's cake.
Yeah. It's candy. Yeah, it's always good. I used to not eat that. And then I ate it one day. I was like, why have I not been eating this?
It's such an American thing that, I don't remember having cornbread until I was in Afghanistan. And, of course, the Americans run the kitchens.
Right.
So come American Thanksgiving, there's cornbread. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll take the piece of cornbread. And I'm like, that's not bread, that's cake.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good cake.
Yeah.
Dinner cake.
So we did pitas. So I broiled because I didn't want to use the barbecue. So we did a couple chicken breasts, did a couple of steaks, and I still have tofu. So I cut up some tofu, and it's a funny story because then I pan-seared the steak in a shit ton of butter and garlic.
Because that is, that's the right way to do it.
Right. And then when I was done, there was still butter and garlic in the pan. So you know what went on top of that?
Throw some mushrooms on top of that.
No, the tofu went in.
Oh, no way. That's cool. So you cooked the tofu in the meat juice.
I did.
And?
It was the best tofu I'd had in a month. Really crisp. Like right in that, as I was saying, that whole thing of trying to figure out how to... And not that I care now, and not that I didn't like it the other ways.
No.
But it was always that thing of, everyone says, oh, you can make it be like meat.
Sure. And my thing was, how do you make non-meat be like meat unless you cook it in, like you say, meat juice?
Yeah. So, and I mean, there wouldn't have been a ton of steak juice there, but there would have obviously been some fat rendered off.
Whatever rendered out of the meat through the cooking process would still be there.
Yeah, right. And it's so right, and it browned up. It was crispier.
Sure.
I'd also done them I cut it sort of like in longer finger styles.
Yeah.
And it was crispy. It cut up nice, and I probably had I had 2 tofu. I actually didn't put any meat on my pitas that night.
Is that right? Eh?
I Movin picked off the plate, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Right when I was cutting it up, and I was like, I'll just throw that piece in my mouth because I don't have to worry about it now.
Interesting.
And still had tofu in my pitas. So
I still have meat. Substitute. Now, our last episode, we talked about trying alternatives, and we had the Beyond Meat product, and we weren't, it was okay when we were out. I felt, like I said, when it was commercially prepared, I thought it was better, and maybe it's attributable to it's cooked on the same grill with the meat.
Yeah.
As opposed to cooking it at home where it's in a fresh pan and it's just by itself. But the other brand that we got locally here in town at our Value Mart, for the rest of you Canadian listeners, or at least in Ontario, Value Mart, Eve, YVES, Eve's brand.
Right. Yep.
And I gotta say, I think I prefer that over the Beyond. It had a better flavor. It seemed to have a similar texture, but definitely flavor department. It totally surpassed the Beyond. So
yeah, because you're saying the chuck. Like
that was
not good.
Yeah.
Did you do a final weigh-in?
So I did, and I was so disappointed with myself, to be honest with you, because the final weigh-in was heavier than the start weight.
I mean, I had ups and downs. I will say the final weigh-in
not by much,
right?
But heavier.
Down 3 pounds.
Up 2.
So, but I had swings like right, and went heavier, went lighter, went that 6 pound drop.
Yeah, that was my first week. First week I was down 4.
How's your reintroduction to meat?
Thought my gastric stuff, because I'm an over 40 something, and I have issues.
Yeah,
I thought my issues were going to be aggravated. They really haven't been.
I feel like I've definitely had more gurgles this week with the reintroduction of, and have not eaten a ton of meat. Still, like, right, I put chicken on a salad and had salad 2 days at work, but right,
sure,
definitely more movement. I bet I'll lose more weight this week
than you did
reintroducing meat than I did eating veggies.
I just found like that last week. I know we talked about this on our last episode on the update, that Kim and I had sort of replaced a lot of stuff with pasta. Right. Because we'd say, we're not eating ketogenic anymore, so fuck that. I'll take all the carbs I want because that's what was filling me up. And so the pasta, I think, really kind of did me in because we were eating it a lot.
Right. It's easy and it's simple, and it was following the rules, right?
Big time, the rules of our vegetarian regime.
Yeah, and it's, as you say, right? Some people can eat it all day long and not have any ill effects or weight gains or bloating. And other people, it punishes.
Well, lifestyle for me, right? And that's, That's always going to be my big crutch, is that I'm never going to be the marathon runner. I'm never going to climb a mountain, and
Yeah, though that energy that the people that eat pasta
and can
like
do
carb
the
loaded,
the top level athletes who are like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, ate 3 bowls of spaghetti with just margarine on top of it before riding,
Oh yeah.
Ooh. But it's definitely not everyone's forte.
No.
It's good every once in a while, but as you say, if all of a sudden you're like 2 nights, 3 nights a week, I bet you most people will pay for it, right?
Yeah.
We Michelle's birthday week was this week, so we had Alfredo with chicken.
Yummy.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And it's nice. That's one of George's go-to preps. So
that she can make.
Yeah, she had it
sort
almost
of
all but
no trouble.
Yeah, all but done when we got home. So that was exciting.
That's a good one for a kid too.
Yeah. It's kind of fancy.
Yeah.
And it's nice if you're having people over and you're like, oh, I can make Alfredo.
Sure. And I mean, you don't have to have, sauce from a jar.
No, exactly. All right. Well, these are really tempting me. So
I'm looking at them, and so let's crack into the first one.
Okay, so
what are we starting with?
So flying monkeys, the mutants are revolting.
The mutants, flying monkey. So they are from Barry. Do we know?
I'll be honest.
You don't know.
I'm gonna have to dig into it a little bit.
Okay, wait
more.
a minute. While you're telling us the profile, I'm gonna look at the can.
So, brewed and cellared. Ooh. They use big words. In Yukonot, Idaho 7, and Sabro hops, tropical points of pineapple, mango juices, spiked with apricots and tangerines, cushioned with a soft huskiness in each refreshing swig.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of, and we said that was
That's a 4.5.
4.5. So
4.5%.
A little bit. They call this a crushable IPA. So a lot of IPAs are high content. So this, I think, is their idea. Is if we lower the
that's the one thing we are doing right tonight.
We
did read. Honestly, listeners, we did read some tasting etiquette, and we have them arranged from lightest in terms of alcohol content to heaviest. Clarity is another story, but in terms of alcohol content, they are arranged sort of in order.
All right.
So just for those of us who are following along, the Flying Monkey Brewery located at 107 Dunlop Street East here in Barrie, Ontario, Canada, the Great White North.
That's cool. So that's like accessible.
It's not far away at all.
Far away.
We can get there in a couple hours.
Cheers.
All right, to you, sir. All right, let's do it. Ooh, very citrusy.
Right to the gulping. It's good. Little on the backside, little that bitterness on the back.
Yep.
Swallow. But you can.
The front end it's crisp.
Yeah. And you can smell almost everything that they kind of said there. You can kind of get the tangerine and the.
I'm definitely picking up on that. Yeah. So I'm looking at this one. Of the 4 of them tonight, this is obviously the clearest one.
Yes. Especially like 2 of them are rated as a hazy IPA as we move down the road. Yeah.
This one still has a, I would call it a straw. It's a straw yellow. It's been sitting long enough, so there's not much head left on them. We broke the bubbles out of them earlier when we poured them, so it shouldn't be too burpy tonight on the show.
No promises. Definitely crushable.
I concur. That's a good one. Wow, that's a good. I would like to revisit that when the sun is out and we can do this outside.
And I would tell you, the nice thing about Flying Monkey, and whatever you're buying, they put a lot of time and effort into the design of their cans. I think a lot of IPAs do. There's a ton of fun, graphic, designed, oriented cans out there.
Right.
And it makes it hard because you kind of stare at them and you're like, oh my gosh.
It looks like a great looking can. Yeah. I don't want to open it.
Well, that was the first thing you said about the next one we're going to drink is, that's a cool label.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, for sure it is. It kind of catches your eye and I don't know if it's like a throwback to Lost in Space or.
It's got a cool little science fiction space theme, and I like it. It speaks to me.
It could be the beer of fandom power.
If it's good, it may be. It may be.
We'll tag them too and shout out to Nickelbrook Brewing. If you want to sponsor Fandom Power, Wes will drink your beer every episode.
Yeah, really. I'll just keep name dropping them, without saying a word.
That's how it goes, man. You just keep tagging them in your posts and talking about them, and like.
Listen,
right?
I'm not one to endorse something that I don't like, but honestly, if I like it, I mean, I'll endorse it without any comps. It just,
right.
I like it.
Yes. No, and I mean that's I think a lot of it, right? Is how a lot of people find. Well, there you go.
First one's to you, sir.
Yeah, I can't avoid it.
Shots fired.
Whew. I think that's how a lot of people find stuff, right? Is you listen or you talk to people or you're right. And I was talking to one of the guys at work that we were doing this again, and he's kind of started talking about all the things he'd had, and like some of them are super strong, and it's like there's one called Mad Tom, and then there's another same company, and they called it Madder Tom.
Madder Tom. Oh.
I think that was the gist, and it was like, and it went from like, oh, that's hoppy and bitter to like, Jesus, that's hoppy and bitter. But yeah, so it's definitely an interesting. Everybody's got a take, so that's always good.
I don't know if we talked about this on the last one, but have you always been a beer drinker?
No, I think we touched base on it. I drank beer because I could get served at the beer store before I could get served.
You could get it at the
liquor store.
Oh, okay.
And then I didn't like the taste of beer.
Right.
But as I got to be an adult, definitely when you go to people's houses, or on a hot summer day, somebody would be like, "Oh man, can I get you a beer?"
Yeah,
because lots of people have beer at their house,
and you accepted it because you're a good guest.
Yeah, a lot of times they'd be like, "Oh man, could you just give me a rye and Coke?"
Yeah,
and you're like, "Okay, you raging alcoholic."
Oh yeah,
and not everybody's got rye or whatever. The
3 fingers of rum.
Yeah, right.
Neat.
And that's when I wasn't a rum drinker. But it's interesting. I think I started to drink it just like coffee.
Yeah.
Because it was the adult thing to do.
I think we have said that before, and that analogy that, beer and coffee share that it is an acquired taste. It's like smoking. You have to train yourself into it, Very few. I mean, I would agree with you. I was not a beer drinker from the get-go. My parents were. Mind you, they would pretty much drink whatever you put in front of them. So there was beer in the house. And, kid of the 80s, born in the 70s, who didn't have that, go to the fridge and get me a beer. And then you'd kind of take a little sip of it as you're bringing it out to the parents, right? And I knew early on that, like, oh my God, what is this? But over time,
not this guy.
Oh no, eh?
Well, Fred and Catherine abstained.
They
did
they? Okay,
so
well, it wasn't like that at my house.
No, well, that's even at my house. That was like as soon as my kids could go to the fridge and get me something, I thought that was the coolest trick. Like, go get Daddy a beer.
As soon as I was old enough to understand the mixology ratios, I became the bartender at our house.
Right. I think that's cool, but yeah, everybody raises their kids different, so. But, yeah, so I think at some point, maybe in my mid-30s, maybe a little bit before, I started to really find that on whiskeys and ryes, that I'd get like really red-faced, and it seemed to hit a little harder. And then the next morning wasn't nearly as fun anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah, so then drank more beer.
Yep. And
that seemed to solve a problem. I tell you now, there's a few beers like I had one beer yesterday, and I was on my way. It was
nice.
And again, it probably was a little. I don't look at
content.
No.
Yep. Okay.
It's like great. Oh, it's in the beer fridge, and I haven't had that.
Do I like the taste of it? Yes or no?
And this is again another Fenland Falls Brewing Company. It's their
Whoop, whoop.
Saison, their farmhouse Saison.
Okay.
And I would tell you the first time I had it, did not enjoy it. And then I got 2 in my brewing box last month.
That's right, because now you are in a subscription box, a beer box subscription.
From Fenland.
Yes.
So I'm getting something from them every month.
Yep.
And yeah, so I drank the 2 and they were super cold, like took them out of the fridge, cracked it, poured it in the glass and hit it. And I was like, oh, way better cold.
Right.
So I think I'd taken it to like a barbecue and I had it in my cooler.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, maybe not.
Right.
And again, maybe it was a situation of, maybe it wasn't the right beer choice for what I was eating.
Sure.
Because, typical summertime barbecue, right? You're eating everything. There's cookies and there's
as
veggies.
soon as the barbecue gets turned on, whoever's behind the grill is eating from that time until everybody goes to bed because there's, you're picking at whatever's there.
But yeah, I really even enjoyed that beer again. And enough that I bought when I was running over and grabbing a couple of their IPAs today. I grabbed 2 of them to add to the collection.
Sure.
And then I grabbed 6-pack of Vienna's.
Nice.
Because I like that.
Yeah, it's a good go-to.
It's probably my favorite. And
Mine
then,
too.
Still enjoy their red.
Yep.
But yeah, they've been doing some cool stuff. And there we drank their fancy bottled one the other day. The Belgian Triple.
I think I've asked you this before, but for the sake of the listenership, so beer box service, I think it's a wonderful idea. Of all of the blind box things that you can subscribe to, and there's meat boxes and cheese boxes, and then in my world, toys and like Funko Pops and like Nerd Block and all of those secret, we're going to send you stuff every month. This has got to be one of the best ideas for blind box. And believe me, I hate blind box anything because I want to know what I'm getting. But as somebody who likes to try different beers, I think this is a wonderful idea.
I think, and it's not to begrudge this, but it is this brewery's blind box.
Right. So that's my question.
Everything
right?
you're going to get is from them. Now they are introducing another new session.
Okay.
So they kind of do these like little experiments and
seasonal stuff?
Yeah. So they've got another 4 beers coming out here shortly.
Right.
So it's kind of that. Like the one we're going to drink tonight, the New England IPA is one of their...
That's the last one for the night,
yes.
by the way. It's the highest alcohol content.
And it's one of their sessions.
Okay.
So I don't know if that means it's not
Short
available.
Run.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they're probably, I can't tell you. I know Mill Street's been around for a long time. So, I mean, but Fenland Brewery is only,
Mill Street's in the news.
I know. 100th Meridian.
Yeah. And of course, we live in Bob Cajun, so it's even extra like, what?
What?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think the time that beer's been out.
Yeah.
Versus the lawsuit of them saying they're using the hips.
It's a brand new lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems a long time why wouldn't you have nipped it in the bud right away?
If you guys haven't been paying attention to what we're talking about, the Mill Street Brewing Company, which is actually a division of Labatt's, so they're not as crafty as they want you to think they are. Labatt's, who is part of one of the largest beer conglomerates in the world, has been sued by the surviving members of our national treasured band, the Tragically Hip, for copyright infringement on the 100th Meridian, saying that it's damaging to the band's brand. But I took the time. So after I read the article, the first article I read actually put a link to the full disclosure from the band, the suit as it was filed. I read the full suit, and whether it's whether you think that the band is acting in good faith or not, the other side of that is they're doing what they are legally obligated to do in order to protect their trademarks.
Right.
So, I mean, if they don't fight this, they have every chance of losing the 100th Meridian trademark.
Right.
Right.
And they right, but I mean it is. I mean they sang a song about the 100th meridian, which,
at the 100th meridian.
At the 100th meridian, where the Great Plains begin.
and that's where I look at it, and I'm like, and when you look at the beer label, and it's what that beer is, right, it's a wheat beer.
One of the defenses that was brought up was that, well, the 100th meridian, it's an ale, I think.
Yep.
They're talking about the ingredients come from the 100th meridian. It's like, no, they don't, because the brewery is nowhere near the 100th meridian, and because you can't trademark a place that their defense, the legal team for the band do not recognize that as a defense, and they are pushing forward with it. I guess the other layer is that the band has said, we've done merch deals and licensing deals, which includes wine and spirits.
Right.
And they've always sort of done it on good faith. And I guess they've had issues before where the band has just said, hey, listen, you're kind of treading on us, so please don't. And I guess their public statement said this is the first time that this has happened where they've had to go this far. So when people say, well, why now? I think that they've exhausted sort of every avenue that they could on their own.
They've played nice.
Right. And now it's get the lawyers involved because you're just not going to do what we want you to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is too bad. Okay. So next beer.
What are we on to now?
So this is a Nickelbrook.
Yeah, Nickelbrook.
The cool can.
The Nickelbrook Brewery from Burlington, Ontario.
Correct. So Lost in Orbit is a critical tool for any hopstronaut.
Nice.
It's a juicy, hazy, and a remarkably crushable. Pouring a cloudy yellow, the brew gushes with citrus hops aromas and juicy tropical flavors of guava and tangerine. The finish is crisp and refreshing as a starry night sky, leaving you with a lingering sense of discovery. Pairs best with curiosity, adventure, and exploration.
I'll talk about the can here for a second because I really like this. It's like most of them, it's a wrap. It's purple and black, and the Lost in Orbit title, it's in the same font as NASA.
Gotta be careful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Is that trademarked?
I don't know. But it's got this cool, it's an astronaut in the vein of heavy metal where the helmet is up and it's a skull inside. Like there's no skin on this guy. And he's rocking a giant boombox on his shoulder. He looks like he's a pretty hip space skeleton.
Is. And this is a 4.5.
4.5. All right, what do you think about this one?
All right.
Let's get a little sniffy-do here. I would say that's even more citrusy than the last one, at least on the nose.
Maybe.
All right, let's try it.
Smells very typical of everything we are probably going to drink tonight. Little more bitter.
Definitely a little bit more bitter.
And I would not say you're getting those citrus notes at the front.
No. So, I mean, I've tried guava juice. Actually, I tried it at your house. Because you bought it as mix for something.
We did. I
didn't like it. I think that
carries over.
It does carry over to this.
I don't think it doesn't have a huge negative context. I'm just not saying that it's not hitting any of the palate markers that I would say. Like I couldn't say that it's crisp. I couldn't say when you're getting into just sort of those negative, I can pick up the bitterness of the hops.
Yeah.
I can,
definitely cloudy. I'm looking at this and I don't know. To me, it almost looks like at the bottom here that it's pulpy. There's definitely some sediment there. Something is settling.
I would concur. That's funny. And I will shout out, I had a preconceived idea of what I was buying today. And Cameron's Brewing makes a hazy IPA that we've had a couple times here and there. And I could not find it today. And I really enjoy it. So
right.
Maybe that's sort of given me a taste profile of what a hazy IPA should be. And this is missing that mark.
It's funny. It's a little misleading in the sense that the note is stronger on the nose than it is on the palate. The citrus, I mean.
Yes. Certainly.
Not bad. Certainly not bad.
Managed to finish the cup, didn't you? But yeah, definitely I feel like I've got a little bit of that bitterness still at the back end of my palate. Still was a good beer, but I guess that puts Flying Monkeys in the lead.
I would agree with that.
Oh.
So both of us agreeing that we were not beer drinkers to begin with in our lives, both trained into it. At what point did you decide, I guess you kind of answered it in the last one, that you'd switched over the whys and the hows, but when did you decide that you actually liked beer?
Probably after college. So we're talking like 25, maybe 30. I was probably married.
That's late.
It is late.
Yeah.
I remember starting to date Michelle in high school, and she drank blue because I'm sure her dad drank blue. And I did not enjoy kissing her.
There's a lot of blue in our house, too.
Yeah, because she tasted like beer.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like the way your tongue tastes in my mouth. And I stuck it out, and I married her anyway. But, yeah, it's funny. And that's when you think back to those ones, you're like, oh, man, I just don't like the taste of beer. And, like, right, blue or... Canadian, and very seldom when you go to my beer fridge will you see
the big guys.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Like right, Keith's,
sure,
is probably the most popular one,
right?
That you would classify as a big brewery.
Alexander Tate,
the pride of Nova Scotia,
and it's an IPA.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Coors Light, because if you have people over you don't like,
you can give it away.
Yeah, it's cheap. And everybody likes it.
It's cold and free, and that's usually most people's favorite flavor.
And then you're not over serving anyone. You give somebody 2 Coors Lights, and if they leave your house,
within reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, they're not inebriated.
Yeah. Well, you hope not.
No, right? But I mean, some of these beers that we've talked about, or
the fortifieds.
You can go out. I mean, right? You throw back 2 cans at 10%.
So wait, it was the 90s
with all the strong beers
when Molson and Labatt's were competing back and forth with their fortifieds, and there was like
Mad Dog,
Wildcat,
yes,
Triple X.
Yep, there's a bunch.
What was Labatt's? Was it Labatt? Was there one that was just called 7? Maybe. They all tended to have like black cans, and they were kind of edgy.
Yeah. And I mean, none of them tasted good.
It was right at the height of when I was fully embracing the bar culture, and I was probably, I was in the bars.
I mean, that was when
3-4 nights a week.
I mean, that's when Jolt Cola came out, too. Like everybody was trying to
Jolt Cola.
Everybody was trying to do
all the flavor and twice the caffeine.
Maximum damage.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. But for sure, we drank that because it got you drunk faster.
Yeah.
And made you funny sooner. But but never really enjoyed it. I probably just drank it because to drink it. And then if I could get liquor, way more of a liquor guy.
There is far better tasting for comparative money.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can control what it tasted like.
Oh my gosh.
I want it with orange juice. I want it with cola.
Yeah.
And that was always the thing with beer, is all beers kind of tasted the same when you're,
when you're young and dumb.
Yeah. 1920.
Yeah.
And then I think too, right, the throwback to when I was buying underage and trying to buy something that didn't taste like beer. I was buying like
sure.
Oh, what were they called? Like President's Choice.
Oh, like Sarasotas?
Like Durango.
Durangos.
Like Cactus Berry, which all it was flavored beer, which is now a thing, right?
Yeah.
You can like Rattlers.
Rattlers, yeah, they're
a huge thing.
Traditionally, it's grapefruit. Yeah.
but that wasn't a thing back then. So you were buying these flavored beers, and it was like, well, it's better than just normal beer.
Yeah, it's
But it was still terrible.
What's the joke that I make? Cheerleader beer.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, right? It didn't taste good though. At least cheerleader beers are like sweet and tasty,
Right.
and they're fun to drink. Right? I love it.
Just give me some wild berry. Does that even still exist?
I don't know. I drank that too.
Wild berry vodka coolers.
Right?
Yeah.
You just crack it and throw it back.
Yeah, so I think for me it was probably I don't know, my early 20s where I was fully decided that I was a beer guy. And I was a beer guy exclusively for a number of years.
Right. Now that you're enlisted.
Yeah, when I was I mean, when I joined the military, there was a period there where I was in the bar 4 nights a week.
Right.
So I was drinking a lot of beer.
Like the Legion?
No, I was paying like downtown. Hop a cab, go downtown, hit the gentleman's club for an hour or so, and then go to the nightclub, which was
So you're
in
paying
the same
$8.
building. Yeah, premium price for not a premium product.
Right.
But I was young and not very
But
wise.
again, I'll tell you from a guy that went to strip clubs growing up.
Yeah,
a
sure.
beer was easier to hide. That you didn't need another beer.
Oh yeah.
And then
You could nurse that quite a while.
right, versus a mixed drink.
Yeah, because when that glass is empty, they're on you. Like you're drinking or you're out.
Exactly. Where if you kept your beer in your hand, because they'd come and pick up your glass and or the bottle even, and tip it to see if what was left, and be like, oh, you need another beer.
There are very few nights where I spent the whole night in the strip club.
Right.
It was always sort of on a Friday night when you're, on base and you just want to get as far away from there as you can go. It's like, as soon as we're done eating, we're getting in the car and we're going. So like we're hitting the town at like 6:00 at night.
Right.
What do you do at 6:00 at night? In the evening, you go to the strip club because there's nothing else to do.
Right. They're serving alcohol. There's music. There's naked women.
Right.
And you can't go to a regular bar. You could go to a pub.
Yep.
But that's not what you're looking for.
Conveniently enough, in Owen Sound at the time, up on Georgian Bay, close to Meaford, the strip bar and the nightclub were the same building. So it was literally a matter of, are you ready to go downstairs yet? Yeah, I guess so. Let's go.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but we drank a lot of beer there.
Which is right. It's what we did.
Yeah. And even back here, like before I moved away, like because I kind of bounced around a bit, right? I kind of came and went a couple of times before I finally permanently relocated. And I mean, between 19 and 2022, I was here locally, Corth Lakes, and I was probably in the bar 3 nights a week.
Right.
Yeah, all year. Summer, winter, didn't matter.
I mean, right, if that's where your social group is.
At that time in my life, it was, yeah.
Well, right, and I mean, like, it worked for Norm.
Yeah.
Where everybody knew your name. Why would you not be there?
I got some recognition there because I dated one of the girls, and then in the bar in Owen Sound, I got some recognition by one of the bartenders. She knew me as the Jack Daniels on Ice guy, because that's usually how I would start. I'd say, give me a double Jack on Ice.
Right.
And then it would just be...
That's one of my proudest moments. Went to a Headstones concert.
Headstones, yep.
And maybe it was at the Bala.
Oh, Key to Bala.
And by the end of the night, the bartender knew what I was drinking. I was so proud of myself.
I've got recognition.
Yeah. And I overtipped him on
cool.
on the first one. So then if there was a lineup...
You might get some preferential.
For sure he was coming to me first. He's like, another double rye? And I'm like, yeah, bud.
Yeah, cool.
And then, give him a good tip at the end of the night. And I was like, super appreciate that. And and that was my theory for a long time.
Throw money at them.
Is overtip the first bartender that serves you. And be like, look at my face. Remember
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and you know what? I also, Shows you how much I eat at the keg. There, when I was playing Sunday night hockey,
Yeah.
go for dinner, I'd work, and then I'd try to kill time
Sure.
before hockey. And it's like, well, where do I want to go? I don't want to have McDonald's and then go, like, skate my guts out.
Right.
So I started going to the keg. Go to the bar side and get a Keese and a steak, or a Keese and,
Yeah.
But right, I was walking in there and got to the point where the bartender was like, gives me the nod and not, hey, how are you doing? And be like, Keese? And he'd already have it. And I was like, went there one night with Michelle.
The one time that's not what you want? Damn.
No, I would never tell him. I would never tell him that.
You'd
because,
just take
right?
it.
Yeah. And one night, Michelle and I went, and it was
Nice.
full on the restaurant side.
Okay.
And we went to the bar side. And he gives me the nod. The Keese is on the counter. She's like, you come here much? And I'm like,
Enough.
yeah, every Sunday for like 6 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice. It's recognition, but it also kind of speaks to that thing of, oh, maybe I am here too much.
I never thought about it at the time, but retrospectively now, where I am in my life, of course I was.
But right, there's one thing about volume, and then there's just like, oh, it's just, he knows I come Sunday night. I get one Keese.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's not like I'm pounding back 3 and then going.
I would say this, though, especially since we've reconnected, my consumption is considerably higher than it was in the preceding years, and that's not a bad thing, not at all. I would say that given the opportunity and given the social element of it,
I think it's always better.
it is with friends.
Right.
It totally is. And I mean, we've done it at our place. We have our civic August, the August long weekend here in Canada is a civic holiday, or at least it is in Ontario. And so we do this thing every year where it's a 2-day. I don't want to call it a bender, but it's
a 3-day.
Technically, yes, because you come Friday afternoon and then Saturday it's all day Saturday, and then we go out that night walking. And then Sunday we do it all over again.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that it's like 2 days, and I'm like, man, year one it was 4 days.
It was.
It totally was 4, and we probably went 3 days last year
on a continuous buzz.
Yeah, but right, it's different when you're with. It's not like you're hiding in your room and and drinking by yourself and hiding the bottles.
I'm not sitting in a college dorm wondering if I'm gonna pass this exam. I'm not, 20 years old, first time away from home, trying to prove myself to a bunch of other, 20-somethings that, I've got street cred. It's just like hanging out with my friends and having a few drinks.
Having a few drinks and being silly.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, too, before that weekend, there'd be the opportunity that you might have not drank in 3 weeks.
For sure.
If, everybody's busy and whatever. You're like, well, I haven't drank in 3 weeks, so it's okay. And then when you're done, you know what? You might not drink for another 3 weeks.
And that's been my responsible adult life has been that way. Not drinking for weeks at a time, or in some cases, years.
Right.
Like 365-day abstention times 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think if I'm not seeing people, and it's like, oh, I don't need to have a beer. I have to have a drink. And it's like, and then you stop, and then it's always funny because then all of a sudden, if you stop buying things you like to drink and you're looking at your liquor cabinet and you're like, I'm just not going to drink.
I have my, we go out for dinner on Thursday nights before our Axe Club, and periodically I will have a drink with dinner, whether that's a beer or other drink. And then we get to the club, and it's like, oh, well, Scott and Michelle are here. I'm going to have a beer. And then it's like, oh, but I'm only allowed to have 3 at the Axe Club because they're super responsible, and I really appreciate that. But there are nights where I've had my 3, and I want more.
Oh, for sure.
Oh.
And right, it's settled in. It's feeling good. Maybe you're throwing a little better.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just, it's taking the knot out of the back of your neck, whatever, right? And it's like,
it usually ends with me asking you, are you working tomorrow?
Yeah. Shall we continue drinking when we get back to Bob Cajun? No, and you know what? And I look at it too, is You know what? I've paid my fee to them for
That's
the
right.
league, but it's also supporting that club.
It's
And the
really, I
business.
mean, if they're not selling merch
Yeah.
and they don't have a lot,
No.
how else are we pouring money into them?
And into something that you enjoy and want
Yeah.
to stay open.
Yeah.
So you buying a beer a week or 2 beers a week is supporting that business. Because you know what? I don't even know what it costs. Is it 100 and...
It was 110, I think,
Right.
per person. So times 2, because
Right.
Kim and I both play. You and Michelle play.
Yeah. So but $110 for 8 weeks. So when you kind of look at that, you know,
it's cheaper than doing a lane rental on a casual pickup night.
yes.
Yeah.
And right, I think they might still give you a discount on beer on league nights. I'm not sure.
On beer or on the lane?
Beer. There used to be league member beer prices.
I didn't know that.
Maybe they got rid of that since COVID.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, so little things. But I mean, again, it's putting money into their business every week.
Yeah.
Because when you get all that money up front, you pay your bills up front, and then it's like, oh, you still have operating costs. You still have to buy wood.
Yes.
All those things got to turn on the lights. So,
Where are we at now?
beer number 3.
Number
so
3.
This is Mill Street, Hopped and Confused, Volume 2. So I guess that probably means there was a Volume 1 at one point, and maybe this is a return.
Is this a session one as well? Or
I don't know.
Okay.
So Hopped and Confused is a no one-hit wonder. Volume 2 is packed with delicious, seasonable tastes of malted barley and toasted wheat flakes, with notes of peach, nectarine, and tropical fruit.
Oh, interesting.
From Mosaic, Galaxy, and Centennial hops, fermented warm with Kiev yeast, and hazy brew is like nothing else. Let the adventure begin.
So this one is a little darker than the last one, and it's certainly more cloudy.
4.7.
This is a 4.7. Okay. Well, let's have a sniff.
Still has that smell of citrus.
I would say of the 3, this is the weakest note.
Right. Can you smell the peaches?
I am uncertain if that's what I'm smelling.
I would-
Certainly I'm getting the citrus end of it.
I would think I can smell the peach.
I don't know if I'm that discerning. Here we go. Less bitter. Certainly smoother than the last one.
I'm not sure.
Maybe even too smooth.
Ooh. No.
You're not into that one. I don't think I would be either.
Sort of like the Lost in Orbit. It's got that bitter taste at the bottom end, but I also get it at the front. And I'm not getting... It's not a real refreshing beer.
No. Is this karma for me speaking poorly of the brewery?
Maybe.
Oh boy.
That'll teach you.
Shut up and like it.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, you can talk while I try to finish this.
Sure. I don't even know what I'm going to say. How do I entertain everybody but myself?
You'll do fine.
So I think while Scott's choking away, I'm going to fill his brain with some suggestions here. He and I are both seasoned international travelers. And with international travel means international beer. And we've done this at home. We've had get-togethers where I've purchased a selection of international beers and I've brought them over to the house and we've tried to get through them with various results. What I wanted to talk about was when we travel, and we've traveled together now to the United States and Cuba.
Correct.
But I've also been to several other countries, and you've been to a few other countries. Who's got the best beer?
Well, and not being, I'd love to get to Europe. Or Europe, Ireland, England, any of those, right? Because I think there's a real beer brewing, right? If you're really a connoisseur, you need to go to Belgium. You need to go to England. You need to go to Ireland.
I agree.
And where we're, our vacations have tend to be in more of a
Tropical.
summer. Tropical. And I mean, this is the thing. When you go to, Cerveza por favor,
Right.
I mean, I don't think you're ever there for the beer.
No, that's true.
Right? You're there for cocktails. You're there for margaritas.
Yeah.
You're there for,
Whatever the flavor of the
drinks with shaved ice.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously Mexico, I would think, is probably my favorite beers.
Mexican cervezas.
Right, whether that's Sol or whether that's just throwback down Corona.
Sure. It's funny, when you travel internationally, that all these imports that we would, pay a premium on are the bar brands of the countries that they're made in.
Yeah.
And
then in Cuba, you've got Bucanero.
So, I mean, it's no secret to Canadians that, traveling to Cuba is kind of like it's one of those things that we wear proudly on our sleeves that, we can travel to Cuba and the U.S. can't. And, they're essentially, for tourism, there's essentially two beers in the country. One of them, which personally, I, as a beer drinker, I very, very much like it, and that's Crystal, or Cristal, depending on how you want to pronounce it. That one's for you, Rob Pounder. Cristal. Comes in a green can. It's got palm trees on it. Looks quite nice.
Tastes delicious when
it
you're
is.
on a bus.
It's super delicious. I call them bus beers because you buy them by the bagful at the airport, and you take it on the bus with you, and you partake on the bus as you head out to your hotel. But Bucanero is I guess it's more of an ale. I call it the backup beers. That's the one when you open the mini fridge and there's one can of Crystal and there's one can of Bucanero. You go for the Crystal first. Hopefully you've tipped your the maid service well, the beverage cart guy.
Yeah.
And he changes your Bucanero can for a second can of Crystal. Otherwise, you kind of got to bank the Crystals for the week that you're there and save them. But definitely in Cuba, Crystal is the beer to go for.
Have you, other than bus beers, have you ever sat down on a day in Cuba, at the pool, and crushed beer all day?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. There have been days where they've been 100% beer days. In fact, on our wedding trip, which you were on.
Yep.
Do you remember the day that our friend Dan got the fingerboard from the waiter with all the holes in it?
Right.
That was beer all day. You could carry something like a dozen beer cups in the...
I thought we were drinking mixed drinks all day.
Well, we probably were on another day, but we did a day where it was...
With the board,
yeah.
I thought they were mixed drinks. Were they beer all day?
It was for me.
Ooh,
yeah.
I don't remember. He was fantastic. He really did a great job.
He did. He was more than happy to
run back
shuttle
and forth.
beers.
He was a hero.
Yeah. Dan, if you're listening, we don't appreciate you enough, and I just want to say thank you for doing that, because it was one of the fondest memories of that trip.
I miss you, man.
Thank you for doing that for us.
Cortha Arcade.
Cortha Arcade Machines, and it's not Havelock. Is it Havelock?
It is Havelock.
It is Havelock. Our friends Dan over at Cortha Arcade Machines, if you're looking for an upright arcade machine with several classic video games, you can give him a shout out on Facebook.
And he does some cool 3D printing.
Yes. In fact, I just got a message the other day. He's upgraded to a resin printer.
And if you wanted minis, he was saying.
Yes. Yep.
But did you see his Oni mask?
I did. It looks wonderful.
Looks good. Good painted too. So he's made sort of a Japanese samurai Oni mask.
It would be the traditional mask that the samurai would have worn on their armor.
Yeah, and he's wearing it over his conventional COVID mask. So he looks badass at the job site.
And his construction helmet on top, which I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Looks good. Good. Shout outs to Dan.
So going back to the international beer thing, I have been to Europe, to a few countries in Europe, and some of my favorites. It's really unfortunate because at one time I was able to get one of my favorites here in Ontario. I was able to buy it once or twice, and then it kind of disappeared. But from Slovenia, there's a beer called Zlatorog. It comes in a green can, and it's got like a goat's head on it. So we just kind of call it goat beer.
Right.
Super, 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 super tasty.
Huh.
And if you can ever get it, it's Zlatorog. So it's ZL. It's a really weird spelling. Zlatorog.
Of course. I was going to say, how many X's and Z's does it have?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And when I visited Budapest, I was able to taste the original recipe Budweiser.
Oh, very good.
Puts the American bud to shame.
Which is right. I mean, they probably knocked off that version and then they've dumbed it down.
All the recipes, I think, are, like you say, they're imported from, these big brew houses from Europe.
Yeah. No, for sure. Right. And I mean, that's where it all started, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's nothing original. I don't think there's anything original or, really original thoughts or ideas.
Well, even talking to guys like I mentioned earlier, like our friend Keith, who's a brewmaster, and talking to the guys over at Fenland, who we've talked to quite a few times, and even they will say, like, there is only so much you can do with barley and hops.
Right.
So once you've played that out, you're starting to look at infusions.
Right.
Because that's all that's left.
Yeah.
Right. So
different things you can do. Right. Well, that was right. I actually had additional beers here tonight, and we kind of pared this down to the 4 we're drinking. But I mean, right. Fenland Brewery still does a mango pale ale, which we decided not to have 2 from the same brewery.
Yeah,
So right, they're infusing with fruit.
The fruit choices kind of throw me for a loop because a lot of those tropical fruits, I don't really care for them.
Right.
So, I love beer and I'm totally willing to try them, but I think of things like, so the guava one, I'm like, oh, guava.
Yeah.
And mango is another one where it's like, could you not make one that's got like, what's the fruit that's got all the seeds in it?
Passion?
No, we had them in Afghanistan. They grew
Pomegranate.
Pomegranate's a lovely fruit if you can get past the seeds.
Right. And obviously, right, if you're doing it that way and you're infusing, it works well because then you're filtering it anyway.
That's one of my other fond memories of beer is deployment. When you're so I've been on 2 tours. First tour was not a dry tour. So that meant I was allowed my operational limit of 2 beers per day. We had a mess on the camp, and I could go to the mess every day, and I could have my 2 beers and get my card stamped. And
is that how they did it?
Yeah.
I was going to say, how do they maintain that?
They use a punch card, and the bartender has just a single hole punch, and they they punch your card. At the end of the month, you get a new card.
Right.
And, if you had a good relationship with the bartender, because at that time we were hiring the locals. We were actually S4, the stabilization force, was supporting the economy by hiring locals to do a lot of like camp maintenance kind of jobs. So like housekeeping was all locals. So our bartenders were local. And if you kind of got in with the bartender, they'd punch the same hole
right
a few times, right? So if you were on the DL, there were a lot of people on that tour who were pretty drunk for 6 months, right?
I was going to say now, like if you had a buddy that answers the question, but like that didn't drink, you could punch his card and drink.
So this is it, right? I mean, everybody got a mess card because in the military, everybody pays mess dues whether you drink or not.
Right.
You must belong to a mess. It's part of the rules. So if you don't drink, it'd be like, did you have your 2 beers today? Nope. Give me your card.
Right.
And quite often they don't, you present your mess card, but nobody's asking you to show your ID with your mess card.
Right.
So yeah, that did
happen as well.
For sure.
I mean, and I guess as long as nothing happened, there's no repercussions to
Well, some things did happen, not in my camp per se. I mean, there was some drunken disorderlies and stuff that people, like, fortunately the boys got a hold of their person and basically, strapped them into their bed and fed them water until they were stopped being silly. But in another camp up in the northern part of the country, there was quite a large party, and one of the civilian employees fell off a balcony.
Oh,
so that was a major incident,
right?
That prompted some charges, and some people went home on that one.
Right.
Afghanistan, completely different story. It's a dry tour. It's a combat. It's a solid combat tour. So. But the thing is, they still ship the beer over because there is still that 2 person per day limit. So there is a provision there for having this stuff in the country. But they would dole it out on special occasions.
Right.
Like each subunit was allocated so many recreational events
Right.
where you were allowed to have your 2 beers. Same thing, if my company was allotted 2 beers per person, so the health services company, and I think we were, I don't know, 50 or 60 people, but 2/3 of us are deployed outside the wire, which means, 1/3 of them are back there drinking the beer for 2/3 of the people, right? Or they did it smartly, as was the case with one of our parties, and they saved it. So by the end of the tour, we had a pretty big blowout where, even the leadership, our own leadership, kind of turned a blind eye and kind of let us go and have a few more. So,
Right.
But those are some of my fonder memories, sort of surrounding beer.
I don't even know. I would never tell you that fond memories. Probably not.
You don't have any memories that you associate with beer?
With beer?
Yeah.
No, I remember going to like baseball, like ball tourneys after, and drinking skunky 50-sided MGDs.
Right.
And it's like, oh, those were terrible. No, man, no.
Let me give you another one then. Because I've got another one, and this one is super cool. My friend Chris Marshall. Chris Marshall, if you're listening to the show, you know the story I'm about to tell. He and I went on a support run where we were the ambulance for a road party. Now, at the end of our tour in Bosnia, they were starting to wind down a lot of the stuff. So a lot of things were happening. All the ammunition, the stockpiles of ammunition that had been in the country, were now getting sent back to Canada. So these truckloads, sea containers worth of ammunition and ordnance is getting shipped out to the port because it's got to get on a boat to go back to Canada. You have a big road move like that, you've got to have medical support. So we get tasked as the ambulance for this big road move. So we've got to drive from our camp, which is sort of middle-ish of the country. We drive down to another camp down in the south, meet up with the convoy, and then we drive to the port at where did we go? Split, which is in Croatia. So we get on Split. We get to the port, and the port NCO, he's like, "All right, guys, you're here. There's nothing else for you to do because there's medics that are already overseeing the loading. Like they're there. That's their job, is to be there all day." So we didn't have a job until we left to go back up north. And so it's like, "What do you want us to do?" He's like, "You're on your own until your next timing tomorrow. So, if you're going out, stay away from here, and here, and these places are good." So Chris and I find this like little hole in the wall bar called Hey Joe. Yeah. Hey Joe. So Chris and I don't speak a lick of Serbo-Croat, and the English speaking population in Croatia is kind of hit and miss. It's kind of spotty. But we've got enough between us that we can negotiate our way into the bar, order drinks, and we found this Hey Joe because they have live music. And we're like, "Oh, there's going to be a band tonight." And the band was a local band, and we couldn't figure out what they were playing. A rock band. They played well.
Right.
But I'm telling you, hole in the wall bar. It's probably the bar, Scott, would be maybe the size of the studio.
Right.
And so standing room only. And they start playing, and we couldn't figure out what they were playing until switching from Serbo-Croat into plain English, knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
Oh, very cool.
And Chris and I are like, yeah! And we're totally into it, right? So we're trying different beers, because Chris and I both like beer. And we ordered, what was on tap. They had Tuborg. And Tuborg is, from the Netherlands, I think? I want to say the Netherlands. So, highfalutin, right? Basically, Tuborg. And so we get the Tuborg branded glass that he fills it up. And in Croatia, it's legal to drink on the street. You can walk out the door and you can drink, but nobody does it. Right. So as Canadians, as tourists, right, walking down the road with your beers, and we were having a great old time. And we say to the guy, "Hey, bartender, can we buy the glass? Because we wanted a souvenir from our time in Split." It's like, no, Chris. They're not going to sell us the glass. So Chris is like, "Can we have the glass? Like, can we just have it?" And he's like, "No." So finally, we're like, okay, we give up our table. We're drinking away. We get another beer. And then it's like, I still smoked cigarettes at the time, so I was stepping outside to smoke a cigarette.
And drinking
And then,
beers.
yeah, drinking beers because it's totally legal.
We
and
should
then,
just walk away.
Yeah, and eventually we just walked away, kept the glass.
Nice.
And that glass, this is 2003, that glass survived the rest of the tour, flew home, wrapped in like socks in my barrack box, and I still have it to this day.
Nice.
So that's my last good memory about beer. Tuborg.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I've had good days drinking beer, but it's been more about the people I've been with than the beers.
Maybe that's just it, though. Like you know, I know who I was with.
Yeah.
I know where I was. I know what I was doing.
Like I've had great days with you, and
Yeah.
it's like right, and maybe our maybe more liquor oriented. Like we had a great day with moonshine.
Oh, we're gonna have another great day with moonshine
I
because
hear
I just
Found a bottle.
found a jar in the back of the liquor cabinet that we had forgotten about because it was on the very bottom shelf, and it is a brand new, not cracked bottle of butter cake.
Now remind me, it's kind of a
Butter cake is the one that we mixed it with
root beer.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, it was like Dr. Peppery,
Right.
root beery. Oh, it was really good. Really, really. Yeah, root beer with Coke, it comes out with a root beerish kind of flavor.
Yeah, I think I still have an open bottle of sweet tea. Like
I still have chocolate silk
right.
and coffee.
You need to drink more.
Well,
How have we not finished that?
I don't know. I'm self-employed, so I can drink whenever I
I
want.
guess.
I tend to wait for you.
Right. We polished ours off. Michelle did a great job that night. Had a close friend pass away, and she certainly celebrated her life.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
It is. And we drank a lot that night.
I drank a lot at my mom's
Right.
celebration of life.
Right.
But then again, like, people were buying me beer, and I was happy to accept it.
Yes.
So it was pretty cool.
All right. Before it gets too warm.
Oh yeah, we got one more to go through here.
Beer
So
number
4, this one's the hometown brew.
Hometown, Fenland Falls Brewing, and this is their New England IPA. Very simple description. Big flavor of citrus and tropical fruit balanced by a refreshing and satisfying smooth finish.
No surprise that this one comes in a green can, that it's very much emulating. Now, Fenland Brewery uses the same imagery on all their cans.
Correct.
It's very nice. I quite like it. It's very, what I like to describe as sort of old-timey.
Yep.
You know,
Basically, it's the profile of the building.
of their building, yeah.
Of the building that they're in.
Yeah, and the little banner, the banner on the front is kind of evocative of, like, you know, McGillicuddy's, you know, like I think of like a snake oil guy, you know, in
Yep.
The Wizard of Oz. Like, it's that style. Not saying that that's what we're drinking, and not insinuating that the brewery is selling snake oil by any means, but green can, very much like the Keith's label. It's a similar green color.
And the same gist is on the can. So we are not missing too much in their lingo. They keep it nice and simple.
Pretty simple. And this one is 6.3.
6.2.
Oh,
on the
6.2. Okay,
on the
here
website.
we go.
Last one.
Yeah, last one. Strong citrus note.
I like it.
Yeah, me too.
That feels good on my tongue.
That's not bad.
And no bitter at the back end.
It's there, but I would say that it is very much.
If you would have cleaned your palate, maybe it
Well-
wouldn't be.
I cleaned it by talking.
Right.
No surprise that this one is the darkest of all of them, and it's certainly, in terms of opacity, I'd say it's also the cloudiest.
Quality product. Which is not just throwing it out to say it. That may be 4 barber poles.
Well, there's going to be a split on that decision because this isn't my favorite.
Is it not?
No, it's not. Got to wait though until I'm done. Then we can weigh in.
All right.
Yeah, by the end of that, that's a sipper. That's not a one that I'd want to.
Well, and again, right? It's the highest.
The highest alcohol
per
content.
volume.
Yeah.
And so are you saying that the mutants are revolting?
So, yeah, my number one?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Mutants Are Revolting
Right.
from Flying Monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my number one, hands down.
And I mean, right, they call it a crushable IPA.
Two of them had crushable in
Yes.
there. Was the Lost?
I think the Lost Orbit was
Lost in Orbit, was that
you
it,
know what?
or was it the Mill? I know two of them actually use the descriptor crushable. So while you're thinking about being crushable, head on over to our Facebook page and smash the like button. Give us a follow while you're there. Don't forget that you can catch all of our audio on any of the major podcasting platforms. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, and Radio Public. And our audio is also uploaded to our production company's YouTube page. You can find all of that at Sawcast Productions at youtube.com. Click the playlist, Hanging at the Barbershop for all of our back catalog. Yeah, so for me, it's Mutants. Mutants number one.
Right. You could probably talk me into that.
Do you think so? Into the Mutants?
I liked it. It would have been number 2.
Yeah, so you're saying Fenlon is number one for you.
I liked it a lot.
A lot, eh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But again, here's the interesting thing. It probably tasted the least like an IPA. Like, it didn't have that bite at the end that I would say all IPAs have.
Yeah.
And I mean, they bring it up that it's a smooth finish. So, I mean...
Well, this is it. The other two, the middle two, so the first two did have the most tart bite,
right?
Hoppy after. The second or the third one had the least. Like when I say, like, it was smooth, like, and that's why I say maybe even too smooth.
Right.
That's the one with the mango.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say. Oh.
So if your rating of them, what's number one?
Okay, number one is
Flying Monkeys.
Is The Mutants Are Revolting from Flying Monkeys, number one.
Number 2?
Lost in Orbit. Number 3 is going to be the Fenlon New England. And coming in dead last, Bad Karma, Mill Street with their Hopped and Confused Volume 2.
Funny. So with me, I'm probably going with Fenlon Brew with the New England, then the Flying Monkeys with Mutants, then the Nickelbrook with Lost in
Orbit.
I want to say
Yep.
Lost in Space.
I know.
And then again, I agree with you that Hopped and Confused is the bottom.
Yeah. Funny, I think on our last episode, we were pretty much in agreement on the number 1.
And then sort of...
They were interchangeable.
Yeah. But again, I really did enjoy the... we had to crown a champion to push something forward to championship. I guess, right? Rating Flying Monkeys number 2, and
So
you're number 1.
It's my number 1 and your number 2, which...
It becomes the champion of the evening.
Wow. Interesting that the first one that we try comes out on top.
I think that's happened. Is that coming down to the taste and the memory? But again, you got to think back, like 4 beers. What did that
True
taste
enough.
like?
Yeah, but for me, like, the memory of that is very strong.
Outstretched.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I liked it right away. Now, is this like when we did the lifestyle challenge? Because the first thing, like we say, the default thing was like, right? So that's the first one. If we had arranged them in a different order, do you think I would have preferentialed the first one I tried no matter what it was?
I don't know. I guess going forward, if we could pick a shitty beer, put it at the start, and see if you somehow pick that as your favorite.
I wonder now, like, having a third person here in the studio with us, would there be a 3-way split? Would there be more?
Everybody's got their own preference and their own taste.
I have to say, I'm making a big play for this. I would really like to get one of the brewmasters in here as sort of the guiding force,
right?
Because they would have the discerning palate that we don't have.
Yes,
and they could sort of be the guiding, like, this is what we're looking for, this is what we're talking about.
Did you read any of
I read as much as you did.
Yeah, the blog from Fenlon.
I did. I read it through once, and I retained almost none of it, except for the arrange them from lightest to darkest.
Yeah. Which they're the brewmaster at Finland Brew loves brewing, and he's gone to school for brewing, but he says, sometimes you have to rethink the words and the adjectives to describe the taste. And it's always good to rethink it, so you're not always kind of using the same
wordology
verbiage.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you remember what our number one was from the first round of cold ones?
I re-listened to the episode.
Prince of Darkness.
For
Interesting.
sure.
I gotta check my stock. Did I keep one? Because if I didn't, then I got to source one.
I think we did. I think that was the idea.
Keep one for going ahead.
Right.
Yeah. So we're two rounds into cold ones now, with the idea that by the time we hit round, four?
Four, five?
5?
I guess four.
Four.
If we're going to keep it.
The fifth one would be the Clash of the
Edition.
Champions. Yeah. Cold one's the championship edition. So 2 episodes in, 2 beers crowned a winner. And I don't know about you, but I want to turn these microphones off and crush some more beers.
Sounds like a good time.
All right, my friend.
Oh, dear. Does sound like a good plan. All right. Good talking to you.
For Hanging at the Barbershop, I'm your host, Wes.
I'm Scott.
And we'll catch you next time on Hanging at the Barbershop.
Bye.
Take care.
Hey, thanks for hanging with us at the Barbershop. You can find us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Please like and share us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to stay up to date on all of our shenanigans. Hanging at the Barbershop is a Sawcast production.